Hello there, welcome back to another YouTube video on Guinea Titan. We're on the Trident map, Domination Mode in World Warships Legends on the Xbox. And I will be sailing in the HMS Warspite, the Tier 5 British premium battleship. I really like the Warspite, probably my favourite ship in the game. And I'll probably be playing a good bit more of it now because I need to have unlocked, was it Colorado? Tier... I can't remember. Is it tier 5 or is it tier 6? It's whatever, the next one up from New Mexico. American battleship, and I will need to buy it and equip it. And battleships are expensive, so I need a lot more doubloons, or whatever they call it. So, like I said, I like the Warspite. I think it's hard hitting. The guns are good. And it's maneuverable for a battleship. It speeds up and slows down relatively quickly for a battleship, and it turns quite sharply. Although I think I have the steering mod. Because you can never turn quickly enough. There's torpedoes, and now we've been spotted, speaking of torpedoes. So very likely there's a destroyer around somewhere. Let's start maneuvering. And at least we have that island blocking a fair chunk of the cap circle from us. Well, there's the Emerald. That could have been the one that spotted us. But I don't think so. I'd say that was good. That was a citadel right at the start. 18,000. That really knocked socks out of the Emerald. However, the Emerald is inside its own smoke screen. Hidden, also doubly hidden, because we've got our own destroyer in its own smoke screen between us and the enemy ships, which but if the destroyer was spotted, I suppose I don't blame him for putting up the smoke screen, but if he wasn't, it was kind of unnecessary. It'd be better off if he could spot ships for us. And here we have our cruisers steaming straight through the smoke screen. Let's wander out there into the midst of a superior number of enemy ships, and we'll let them shoot at us. So it did spot the Emerald temporarily. That is a lot of torpedoes. That is probably a destroyer. And we might as well steam around the other side of the island. There's the Mutsuki. There's the Nuremberg. And a couple of battleships being spotted on the other side. Encourage people to sink the destroyer, especially like Alice in the Air. It should really focus on the destroyer, because you can get rid of that fairly easily, and it's a massive danger. And don't worry so much about getting your own torpedoes off. People spend too much time, especially on cruisers, fussing about getting their torpedoes off. So, as I predicted, like Alice in the Air is out there against 3 battleships. At least a destroyer and another cruiser, and she's taking fire from the destroyers, and there she goes. Texas has just taken her out. Now I'm doing a nice piece of damage there, but the problem is I'm angled against the wrong ship. I'm angled against the Nuremberg, but not against the battleships. So I'm going to take the risk of tight shots from the broadsides in the Nuremberg. It is using high explosives, so I think it's worth it. It's also not worth using the damage control, because the chances are the Nuremberg will set me on fire again. However, now that I get a broadside off against the Nuremberg, I could probably do a nice piece of damage, and I would do a lot more if I wasn't over penetrating. I should probably switch to high explosives at this point. I would probably do more damage. Now, we have a heal going, so that's keeping us in the hit points. Our hit points up in spite of the fire, and the enemy battleships are shooting at me from behind. I'd rather be facing them, but I don't want to turn broadside to give them when a cruiser is that close to me. So we managed to take the cruiser out. Again, it was more against over penetrations. And I give a little too much broadside here, I think, to the 2 battleships. I haven't actually angled away enough. I haven't given enough broadside to get me the guns into play, even though they're almost in play. and at the same time I haven't, I'm not angled away enough to actually. So I got chunked for a lot of damage there. I don't think I got a citadel hit, but it went down shot at a time, but it was a lot of damage. So we're pinking away at the Texas. We're better angled now, I think, and we're also, they're going to go behind islands. I'm going to go behind an island. So the Texas is going behind the island. Has the Texas got enough? Texas decided to shoot at somebody else. Probably decided I was too close to the island to be worth shooting at. And the Texas has gone behind the island, so will any of those hit? One of them does, but two of them do actually, but it's just out of effective range now because the high part of the other island's in front of me and we've lost sight. Now we're still spotted by somebody. There's no destroyers. Okay, it's switched to aircraft. Somebody's popped up an airplane. There's the Emerald, and there's the New Mexico, which is the only ship I think I can see at the moment. New Mexico's giving me a fairly decent broadside, but the limit of my visibility. And we're still spotted. Not too sure who's spotting me at the moment. We've gained a bit of hit points there. I think we just managed to land some shots on the... There is the New York, there's the Texas. Now we've taken a fair bit out of the Texas, so I think it's probably worth continuing to fire. I mean, we're trying to get rid of ships, look. And that lot will miss entirely because she's coming in towards me. She's turned to my direction, so she's going to sail between me and the outgoing fire. And we're going to have to reload now. And again, I'm actually showing way too much broadside here, but they're not firing at me at the moment. Although the Texas probably has their guns pointing at me. I suspect they are. Yes, that looks like it's coming into me. And we can fire so we can turn away. So we can kind of reduce our profile for the incoming fire. And we've managed to take out the Texas with a citadel hit. Now I've overturned a bit. Won't get the Emerald. She's not going to be out far. I'm not going to have guns reloaded in time by the time she'll have turned around and reversed her course. And yes, decided to keep turning. Now that I'd started, I might as well keep turning because I was getting near the map edge anyway. Problem is that it'll take a lot of my guns out of the fight for a while because they'll be pointing in the wrong direction. They have quite a slow rotation, so it'll take a while. In this case, for my forward guns to come to bear, because the rear guns were the ones that were more or less locked onto the enemy ships. Emeralds disappeared behind a smoke screen, so I wanted the opportunity. And the enemy fleet's kind of heading away, so I'm going to have to actually close the distance as well. The team's in a pretty strong position. We're way ahead on points, we're way ahead on ships. So this game is actually very much in our favour. And I've managed to do quite a lot of damage as well, relative to, in absolute terms. I mean, 79,000 damage is pretty decent. Certainly not the highest score I've gotten with this ship, although there will be more opportunities for the battle ends, so I could put on probably a lot more. Right, so we have, well, I suppose that's the Emerald firing out of the smoke screen. We're going to close the distance because there's only 3 enemy ships left. The second last enemy cruiser just died in capture point Charlie there, and the New Yorker is in up water, sailing broadside on. Not very fast either. Now that's going to hit some of them. Are going to go too far forward, I think. 2 hits, not bad. We're only firing the forward guns. So you can see here, like, my rearward guns are pointing in the wrong direction completely, and they'll take a while to turn around to have any chance before I can even think about bringing them to bear. New Mexico and the Emerald are kind of poking out behind the island. Well, New Mexico's probably going to come out, and then the New York's going to disappear behind the island. Should be able to get another hit on the New York, maybe, with the forward guns before she disappears behind the island. Emerald is still behind the island, and the New Mexico's come out the other side. And we're closing the range at this point. We're pointed pretty much towards the enemy ships. They're all more or less in the same area, just forward in the forward quarter of my vessel. So with the New Mexico broadside on, just waiting for the reload. This will be forward guns only, and yeah, we're gonna get a couple of hits, and we get the high caliber out of that. And she's continuing to steam on, but the Emerald is closing the distance now. I'm closing the distance fast. We're taking broadsides from New Mexico. We're going to be taking probably a broadside from the Emerald and from the New York. We're going to be the nearest ship for many respects for all of them. Emerald didn't fire at me, but she's straight in front, and we get a Citadel hit. So now that's the Emerald. Pretty much a one-shot hit from anyone. Any penetrating shot I think would do at this stage, and there goes the Emerald.
Many thanks.
2 enemy ships remaining, and I'm showing a little too much broadside here, so we're going to concentrate now on the New Mexico. New Mexico is not initially firing at me. Oh, she is firing at me. And managed to do a fair chunk of damage there as well. However, my guns are all lined up now, but they're all loading on different cycles. And we better tighten up the angles a bit so that we can have at least got, so we can do without getting another broadside like the last one from the New Mexico. And I'm going to encourage other ships to fire on the New Mexico. She's the most vulnerable of the remaining enemy ships, and if we manage to get a full broadside again, we probably would have her, but I don't think we'll get the opportunity because we're now we've got another Citadel hit. There isn't a lot left, however, we're well over the 900 points, so we've all 3 capture circles, so we're going to accumulate points fairly rapidly. We've gotten another hit, but I don't know if we're going to manage to get the New Mexico starting to disappear now behind that island, and it's starting to angle towards us, so it's going to be kind of harder to strike hits, and we're more likely to get bounces or shatters, and yeah, we managed to get a few more hits in. However, that one didn't go over the wall of the island, and the game is over. So 2 of the enemy ships managed to survive to the very end. We've won by points, basically, by the timing out of the game. We got a Dreadnought and a high caliber out of that. Battle performance, we came number 1 by experience, with 2,854 experience, and we finished up with 200,000 credits. So fairly pleased with that result. Good credit earning on that ship, and actually we got a good combat result as well in a fairly straightforward battle, it must be said. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please press like, comment, share. It really helps the channel out, and if you have not already done so, please subscribe to the channel. I will catch you all again soon. Bye for now.